Welcome to Creating Learning Environment Models. In this video, you'll learn how to create a learning environment model using the Learning Environment Modeling Language, or LEML. As you gain experience with modeling learning environments and using LEML, you'll find that there are many different and equally appropriate ways of creating learning environment models. You'll also find that how you approach a project largely depends on the purpose, goals, and timeline and the requirements for the project that you are working on. In this video, I'll demonstrate a general procedure for creating learning environment models. A general process for creating learning environment models typically involves 6 main steps. One important thing to note is that even though these steps are listed linearly, you'll find that the process of modeling learning environments is quite fluid and may require you to go back a step or even jump to a step. The steps for creating learning environment models are: plot evidence building blocks based on major learning objectives. Add other 4 types of building blocks after you've plotted that evidence of learning building block. You'll add actions to the model. You'll add context to the model. You'll include notations and annotations. And finally, you'll share and revise that model as needed. So let's work through each of these steps individually with an example. Let's take a scenario for example. This example will use a scenario that you need to develop a program to train technicians to set up an email software client on customers' computers. The first step is to plot the evidence of learning building block. As shown here, I have added the evidence of learning building block and provided a description and the method. The next step is to add the other 4 types of building blocks to support the evidence of learning building block. Here I've added additional building blocks that are needed to support successful achievement of the evidence of learning. Notice that I've added the descriptions and methods to each. This is a fluid process, so feel free to change and adapt them as needed. The next step is to add the actions to the model. In this example, I've connected each of the building blocks with the actions based on who is responsible for performing that action in the learning environment. For example, I've added the facilitator actions and the learner actions. The next step is to add the context to the model. In this example, I've added the online asynchronous context and the classroom context to the model. The next step is to add the annotations and notations to the model. Before I talk about that process, though, I want to point out that I have adjusted the type of actions based on the context that I've added in the online asynchronous context. This changed the responsibility from the facilitator to transition to the learner. The annotations and actions enhance the meaning of the model. So in this example, I've added the objective alignment to the evidence of learning building block, and I've also added the start and end points to the model. The final step in this general process is to share and revise the model as needed. Remember, learning environment modeling is a fluid and organic process. In this example, I've added an additional feedback building block connected to the evidence of learning building block, added time estimates to the classroom context, and I've added a note about how the students will access the lesson. Sharing, revisions, and feedback occur throughout the modeling process, and you'll notice that your model changes based on the conversations that you have with your clients or your subject matter experts. So as a review, there are many different ways and variations to approach modeling learning environments. In this general example, we used a basic process. And this process was to first plot the evidence of learning building block. Then we added the other 4 types of building blocks to support the evidence of learning. We then added actions to the model. Next, we added the context to the model. Fifth, we added notations and any annotations. And then finally, we shared and revised that model as needed.